Let me give you the law of success for technology podcasters. So, if you are, let's say, a tech podcaster this year, I have good news for you because I'll be sharing with you a few things you need to know if you want to be successful, even more successful over time. Let me give you a quick introduction here. First of all, when it comes to tech podcasting, you have to understand that your audience is actually global. You can be in New York, but when you podcast, your audience can be somewhere in Jakarta, in Indonesia, can be somewhere in Abuja, Nigeria, can be somewhere in Brasilia, Brazil. Why? Because if you talk about the next iPhone, for instance, folks in those localities, they're also interested in the iPhone. So don't think that you are going to have a local audience. That doesn't happen in tech podcasting. It doesn't happen unless you are really talking about something very very niche that is actually geo restricted. Otherwise, you have to really you have to account for a global audience potentially. Okay, so that's important because the way you actually conduct your podcast, the way you talk, the way you the let's say the format you have to keep in mind that you are addressing a global audience. That's really important. So to start your tech podcast, you got to be very organized. Why? Because tech audiences generally are more informed about what's happening, and they're just more interested in the new trends. What I'm trying to say is that if you're having a, uh, a podcast about the iPhone, most of your audience members have already had an iPhone in their life before. So, but they're looking for the next big thing, which means that you cannot have a basic conversation with them. You got to really have a deeper conversation with them. Okay, you got to come up with new things. This is really important. Tech audiences are very educated in the sense that they know the product they want to buy, and they know what the product can do for them potentially. Unless you are talking about what I call software. If you're talking about software, that's understandable. But if you are talking about hardware, a lot of folks they are interested in what you have to bring to the table. Okay, so that's important. So that means the research you have to do actually has to go up. So you got to organize yourself in terms of the audience, the content, the naming, everything you need to think about. The law of success for technology podcasters has to really do with setup and branding. So if you want to start a successful tech podcast this year, your setup and branding have to be impeccable. Okay, I mean, of course, you hear every now and then people telling you, well, you can start a podcast with your iPhone. Okay, but if you want to do a tech podcast, you need more. You can't just rely on your smartphone and think that the quality will be there, because again, your audience wants to see more. They are interested in seeing more. Otherwise, people will just leave your podcast in droves. Okay, you'll not have the kind of listeners that you want, the count of listeners that you want. Okay, so it's important. There is actually a list of minimum things every tech podcaster needs to be ready for recording and publishing. You got to have the recording equipment. So here I'm speaking about things like microphone, headphones, and a laptop. So those three are important: mic, headphones, and a laptop. You got to think about recording software or an account on a recording platform, especially if you are really covering a very quote unquote sophisticated tech products. Okay, you got to also have an account on a hosting platform that's going to help you. Hosting platforms such as Custos, Rivers, um, Riverside. Sorry about that. Riverside. Sorry, I apologize here. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that you got to think about a recording platform, okay, a hosting platform also in terms of possibilities. That's really important. And one thing I want to say here is that you need to understand that your artwork logo will also elevate your tech podcast visibility, and that's important to think about artwork logo. But also, you got to have an intro or outro jingle if your podcast has one. One thing for sure, normally tech podcasts seem to be advanced productions, so you want to elevate your game a little bit. Okay, So choosing your equipment has to be quite essential. Now, I'm not asking you have to really spend thousands of dollars on equipment, especially if you are a new tech podcaster, but you got to really have a minimum, okay? This is an investment. A tech podcast has potential in terms of monetization, potential in terms of brand dealerships, brand sponsorships, in terms of a lot of other stuff, okay? We can also have membership tiers or even Patreon contributions. But you got to really invest first before the viewers will support you. I want to quickly talk about the podcast hosting platform for your technology podcaster. So, an important law of success for technology podcasters has to do with the hosting platform. The reason is that you cannot just host your podcast, your tech podcast on your website. No, you need a specific hosting platform to enable you to actually distribute your podcast to podcast directories such as Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music. Okay, so basically you can have a podcast hosting platforms such as Buzzsprouts. You can use Castos. You can use Riverside. Okay. And the reason why you want to really go for those podcast hosting platforms is that you want to look at the monetization aspect of things, because you do not want to be on a platform that does not allow you to monetize your tech podcast. That's important. And basically, when it comes to monetizing your tech podcast, you have to understand that you have the possibility to get also freebies. Like if you are reviewing iPhones, if you're reviewing phones or whatever, you might get some freebies every now and then too. You also want to think about designing your branding. Okay, so you think about designing your branding. So here, I'm not asking you to do things yourself. By the way, if for any reason you're not artistically inclined, if you don't have no if you have no artistic proclivity, you just want to outsource everything to a freelancer. You have websites such as Fiverr, Upwork, or freelancer.com. They are there to actually even 99 designs to give you the kind of arts that you're looking for. Whether you're looking for artwork, you're looking for thumbnails, you're looking for whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for a logo, whatever, okay. Don't go for those quote unquote free logo generator or AI logo generator. They look cheap. I mean, AI is not going to create a logo like a human, like a graphic designer, at least for now. Okay, I've seen the quality of the logos created by AI. It's not really that good. So don't fall for that trap. It's a trap. Another law of success for technology podcasters is that you have this law revolves around the recording, your recording setup. Why? Because like I told you a little earlier, when it comes to tech podcasting, your audience is paying attention to the info you are conveying to them, but also the setup that you have in your podcast studio. In other words, what is the foundation? What is the foundation that you are bringing the info from? If you are let's say recording your podcast in a very quote unquote crappy low scale environment, they're not going to take you seriously. Why? Because for them to really believe that you know what you're talking about, you have to really show them, not just say to them, you have to show them that you are already are a master of your own tech. Yeah, this is really important. That's why a lot of tech podcasts don't last, because they do not invest in that recording aspect of things. So make sure you have a quiet space to record in. Obviously, we can't all have studios with soundproof walls like on the Joe Rogan Experience or even the Mel Robbins podcast. Okay, but you can think your best. You can try your best. I mean, soft surfaces are your friend. Anything that absorbs sound is actually good for you. So you can try actually Zencaster for instance for actual recording, because the software will allow you to record with multiple guests and then instantly download all the MP3s after the recording. Okay, after the recording is over. That's kind of cool. And you also need to think about producing your podcast, your tech podcast. So basically you want to structure and routine. You want to structure and routinely go through a set of programs to make sure that you are producing your tech podcast professionally. Okay. For instance, you want to book your guest, you want to prepare the episode, you want to record, you want to edit, and you want to publish. If you go through this all the time, you're gonna realize that your tech podcast is actually streamlined and of high quality. So that's really fantastic. Let me go a little more granular here. So a lot of success for tech podcasters has to, let's say, go around guest and booking. And the thing is that when you think about guest and booking, you have to think about the quality of the guest, but also the reach of the guest. In other words, if you have guests who are knowledgeable, who are respected in the tech community because of their work or their profile, they are going to bring their fans to watch your show too. They are going to advertise your podcast on their own social media, for instance, and that's kind of cool because this cross promotion is going to elevate your show's exposure, and that's what you want. Now, guest acquisition will vary from person to person. Maybe you are lucky enough to have a network you can draw from, or maybe you will use social media to ask guests you will really want to have if they will be willing to come on and talk with you, right? Now, usually a few episodes are required to give a potential guest something as a frame of reference. The cool thing is that you can just be yourself and you could be lucky too. Don't be afraid to do a pilot episode here to entice further guests, and this can be great for you. And by the way, if you want to really be successful as a tech podcaster, think about having guests who are actually in the industry, not just reviewers. No, you want to reach out to, let's say, company managers, company leaders. For instance, if you have a tech startup out there that's doing something wonderful around AI, you want to invite that person because tech startup founders are very agile. They understand how the game is played, and they will be willing to come on your show to really talk about their products, talk about their company, talk about the potential they see in the market. Okay, so you also need to prepare a little bit. So besides guest acquisition, you want to think about the topic you want to talk about, the concept you want to like, what angle you want to cover during your episode, during your show, right? So, but this requires some preparation. You can't just believe that you are so knowledgeable that you're just going to improvise. Your audience will find out, will not find out. The audience will realize very soon, within the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whether or not you've done some preparation or you just doing blah blah blah, like you're just babbling. Okay, so always prepare. Always prepare. You want to prepare not just for yourself, but also if you have a guest, you want to prepare with the guest to make sure all T's are crossed and all I's are dotted. That's important. Another law of success for tech podcasting has to do with recording, not just the setup, but the actual recording. Let me explain that. Most recording platforms will allow you to use webcams while recording. And actually, I recommend this, right? So while you may only use the MP3 files for your final products, having the video recording makes the conversation feel a lot more natural for all involved, not just your guests, but also your audience. The thing is, with tech podcasting, it really makes sense to have the product, to have the gear, to have the device actually in view, so your audience can really see what they are actually what you are talking about. Okay, so you want to get on your chosen platform. Get on your chosen platform 10 to 15 or even 20 minutes before the guest and make sure everything is running fine. I mean, with tech, you never know, right? Technology is one of those things you can have problems, but you always want to make sure that the tech side of things is actually fault free. Okay, you do not want to find a problem when it's time to go. That's really the worst case scenario for you. Now, don't worry about mistakes or taking a few goes at the questions. You can always just edit it out later if you want. The goal in recording should always aim for a relaxed and fun experience. Tangents are usually the most interesting parts. And you want to think about editing too. So editing is going to help you big time actually get closer to your quality final work, okay? If you choose to download your episodes pre-mixed from your recording platform, you won't need to edit at all because the platform does it for you natively. It's done inherently. If you do have access to editing software, we recommend keeping things light. Okay, don't over edit your podcast because it's going to really destroy the spark that really happened during the conversation. So new producers may spend hours and hours tweaking every last part of their episodes to make them perfect. I mean, my tip for you is to remove any obvious mistakes or redos. Delete the track for the person who is not talking to help remove any background noise from, let's say, off mic participants, and maybe add some noise reduction if the mic quality needs it. Of course, this is up to you, but if your content is presentable and good, your audience usually won't mind about those minor details. You're the one who really see the defects. Your audience doesn't see them. As long as they're not really that big, though, that's the thing. The final law of success for technology podcasters has to do with publishing. So, if you want to be a successful tech podcaster, you have to really be strategic in terms of the publication of your shows. Okay, so once you're comfortable recording, you're comfortable editing everything, you can upload the MP3 directly to your hosting platform of choice, and then it's just about adding your copy and clicking publish. Okay. One thing I want to say here is that you are able to get things done in a streamlined manner. If you want to scale your tech podcast, you need to have things in a streamlined manner. So when you actually upload your files, your MP3 files to the hosting platform, the hosting platform will take care of the distribution to the directories such as Spotify or Apple Podcast or Google Podcast or even Amazon Music. Okay, but what I want to say is that you don't have to do it yourself. What I want to say is that after the distribution is done, make sure first that the distribution is done. Number two, that is done in a timely manner, and number three, that the response you're getting on those directories is actually at least decent. If not, you have to think about tweaking a few things here and there. Okay, and what I want to say also is that those directories also allow you to monetize your show differently. So maybe this is an opportunity for you to see how you can monetize your show on those platforms, not just through the regular ad revenue, but you can say special ad revenue like brand sponsorships or brand deals, for instance, or maybe like I said a little earlier, freebies. So we're speaking about technology. So maybe you can get some tech gears for free, and then you can review this on the show. That's important. So you have a lot of possibilities, but those things, those relationships, if you will, take time. Okay, and for companies to really trust your tech podcast, they have to see your stats. They have to see your engagement. They have to see also your downloads, among other things. As a coda in today's conversation, I spoke to you about the law of success for technology podcasters. I gave you the introduction and finally the coda. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.